Of the best west of Sydney kicked off today with agriculture competitions and displays, sunshine, fun, food and rides. Over 20,000 people are expected to attend over the weekend.
Country Women's Association, Devonshire Teas and Country Clowns.
Life on farm, we don't care.
The Royal Bathurst show off to a rousing start.
Like the animals and the sheep and the cattle mustering.
Dogs competing and performing in different events over the whole weekend, with 500 entries from New South Wales and Queensland.
You'll see the grandstand full over there over the weekend, watching the yard dogs. They get quite amazed at how good the dogs work the sheep.
Horses competing and receiving ribbons.
We have the open ponies, the stock horses, the answers, the thoroughbreds. We've had the warm bloods.
Local exhibitors have been getting in the royal spirit, celebrating ahead of the coronation tomorrow.
A royal cupcake.
A royal cupcake, yeah. The best thing is that our royal show has come on the same weekend as our coronation.
Because our motto is honour to country, honour to the throne. That is part of our CWA motto. So it means a lot to us. So tomorrow we'll all be wearing tiaras.
The Country Women's Association Tea Room the place to be for produce, relaxation and homemade scones with jam and cream.
We have a very eclectic branch of lots of different skills and lots of different women who really enjoy coming out. We raise a lot of money here and it all goes back into the community.
Lots of school groups getting the chance to shine.
Start to finish, the students involved. The sheep live at school as well, so we're very fortunate with that, and during breaks and class time they get the chance to go down and hang out with them.
Winning second place in the show ring. The show, filled with so much to see and do, a royal way to spend the coronation weekend. Mahalia Bowles, Win News.
But this time around, there's a twist.
One of our city's major annual events, grand enough that it's fit for a king.
Well, this year, of course, we're the Coronation Royal Bathurst Show.
While our sovereign prepares to have a crown placed upon his head on the other side of the world, Bathurst hasn't shied away from the celebrations.
The only royal agricultural show in the world running on the day of the coronation.
In 1954, our late Queen stood within these grounds and addressed locals.
There's a physical link to the place with our King and Queen.
A connection that will be honoured come tomorrow evening when patrons take their seat for the fireworks display. Until then, there's plenty to see and do, from live music, equestrian events, shearing demonstrations, and the all-important judging of both sheep and cattle.
Competitions and looking for excellence and development, in particular in genetics and so on.
While the show was born in 1858 to display the very best of local agriculture, horticulture and pastoral activity, no visit today is complete without a Dagwood dog.
But that might have to wait until after we tackle the range of rides which go round and round.
You make heaps of friends, come down, have a good time.
I mean, there's so much to see, we don't have time, mate.
All the fun activities, along with their times, are available online, where tickets can also be purchased. Ruben Spargo, 7 News.
One of Bathurst's beloved green spaces has received a makeover. New footpaths, trees, park lighting and seating has now been installed in Centennial Park. The trimmings were funded under the state government's Stronger Communities Fund. The estimated cost for stage 1 of the project is close to $1 million. Council will next look to install a playground, picnic area, car park and fitness circuit at the park too.
Well, delivering the mail is becoming an increasingly risky business. Australia Post has revealed some startling new numbers between posties and dogs. Almost 2,000 cases of a postie being attacked, harassed or chased by a dog have been recorded since July last year. 650 of those were in New South Wales.
When a postie or one of our delivery drivers is actually attacked, it's not just the physical injury, it's the psychological impact that has on people.
You become hyper aware of dogs around you because I've been in other situations where you've gone up a street and there have been dogs of lead.
We are being reminded to keep our dogs secure so that posties and the wider community is safe.
Liddell Power Station. And as the cold weather moves in, demand is outstripping supply, with a push now to get our first giant storage battery online.
In Western Sydney, a power experiment, the state's first renewable battery built and watched by the world, testing whether fossil fuel can be replaced, keeping the flow of electricity stable.
There are going to be a lot of challenges ahead as we transition our energy market to a lower emissions future.
A week after coal-fired Liddell was switched off, the Energy Minister admitting
this change needs management. It needs care.
They're closing down a system without there being a replacement.
The cost of power surging. Before Liddell closed, the wholesale price was at $76. By the Monday after, it had jumped to almost $230. Yesterday, still around $180. Demand for electricity far outstripping supply.
We are sleepwalking towards an energy cliff. Prices will soar, the lights will go out.
A national net zero authority announced to manage the transition to renewables.
We want this authority to focus like a laser on any obstacles to job creation and investment.
But even renewable energy experts are taking aim at the government's target to reach 80% renewables by 2030. The former boss of the Snowy Hydro, Paul Broad, telling us it simply can't be done. The risks of going black this winter are high. I understand the desire to reduce emissions, but you've got to be realistic. The government powering on. Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
Tonight, the new King's solemn promise to his God and his people.
I come not to be served, but to serve.
The crowning moment for Charles and his Queen. 1,000 years of tradition as the coronation ushers in a modern monarch.
God save the King! God save the King!
With all its history and royal ritual, from the palace to Westminster Abbey, every step was spectacular. And at times cheeky as Prince Louis charmed the crowd. And didn't they love it, watching history unfold right before their eyes?
Really moving, quite emotional.
It's been a remarkable journey already as a new royal era begins. In other news, the Treasurer promises to ease the pain of power bills in this week's federal budget. The first serious cold snap of the season, there was even snow in Canberra today. And the Tigers' new lucky charm as they hold off the Dragons in a thriller.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. King Charles and Queen Camilla have taken their place in history, crowned at Westminster Abbey in a ceremony heavy with ancient tradition, but with some surprising modern touches. Charles vowing to be a monarch who serves the people. The Prince of Wales pledging loyalty to his father, while Prince Harry was there as a mere spectator. A triumphant day for the royal family, carried out with pomp, splendour and military precision. We begin our coverage tonight with Chief Reporter Chris Reason.
A king meets his people. Charles has been on this balcony on countless occasions, but this time the thousands below were for him. Beside him, Queen Camilla, and beside them, the page boys. The rest of the family pushed to the sidelines. This was Charles's moment, although it was almost stolen by his grandson. 5-year-old Louis, the playful prince. This extraordinary day ending where it had begun 4 hours before, Buckingham Palace. The place where Charles was born today marked new beginnings. He and Queen Camilla carried in the Australian-made Diamond Jubilee coach, drawn by 6 Windsor Greys and escorted by 200 cavalry in the King's procession.
This is a bit like watching a military ballet because it is choreographed.
Everything precision planned except for the weather. They say long to reign over us, and today it did. In a word, miserable. But the crowds didn't flinch, and nor did the troops. It looked spectacular. For Charles, this was the last 2 kilometres of his 70-year journey. Ahead of them, at Westminster Abbey, the rest of the royal family was arriving. Most eyes on Prince Harry, travelling solo, Meghan and the children staying in LA, making the awkward walk alone to his seat.
It's really striking to notice that Harry is alone.
The chair for the spare, 3 rows back. In seating terms, that's Siberia. In the same row, they placed the disgraced Prince Andrew. Watching it all further back, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and the Governor-General David Hurley. The bells announced the arrival of the ceremony's final guests, Charles and Camilla. They were followed by the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children. 9-year-old George carrying his grandfather's robes with 3 other sons of family friends. The Queen helped by the grandchildren of her former marriage. Britain's last coronation was for the Queen, 1953. Charles was 4. Since then, this place has hosted her funeral and that of ex-wife Diana's. Personal low points. Today, a life high.
Your Majesty, as children of the Kingdom of God, we welcome you in the name of the King of Kings.
In his name and after his example, I come not to be served, but to serve.
Then, a sacred pledge with hand on Bible.
Will you solemnly promise and swear to govern the peoples of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland according to their respective laws and customs?
I solemnly promise so to do. The things which I have herebefore promised, I will perform and keep. So help me God.
Charles is the 40th monarch to be crowned in a 1,000-year line, and he's mixed in the modern, like this first-time appearance of gospel. Not only singing, but swinging. Charles has insisted on inclusion across race and religion. A reading from Britain's Hindu Prime Minister.
All things were created by him and for him.
Another moment in history. A woman as official sword-bearer. Politician Penny Mordaunt, a quiet star of the show, holding the 3.5-kilo sword of state aloft for much of the ceremony. Deeply historic and religious. The most sacred part of the service, the anointment. Screens made from Australian wool were positioned, and Charles had his robes removed, his hands, chest and head dubbed with holy oil. A private moment between him and God. Sitting in the 700-year-old King Edward's chair, he was presented with the golden orb, last seen on his mother's coffin. A living history lesson, overwhelming for some. Then, the climax of the day, his life, the crowning. At over 2 kilos, it's extremely heavy, the symbolic weight far heavier. '74-year-old Charles Philip Arthur George, King Charles III.
God save the King! God save the King!
Prince George watched on. This will be him one day, after his father.
I, William, Prince of Wales, pledge my loyalty to you, and faith and truth I will bear unto you, as your liege man of life and limb. So help me God.
Thank you, William, he whispered, before the Archbishop of Canterbury made his controversial offer for the public to do the same and pledge allegiance.
I now invite those who wish to offer their support to do so.
Then Camilla was crowned in a smaller but similar ritual. What a journey with Charles. 50 years from girlfriend to mistress, duchess, consort, now queen. Today was their crowning glory. This was a day King Charles has waited a lifetime for, an apprenticeship that's run 7 decades. But it's the years ahead that will define him as he grapples with the future of the Commonwealth, his own family, and even the monarchy itself. Charles and Camilla boarded the Gold State coach. They'd arrived in the newest, this was the oldest, for the trip back to Buckingham Palace. Others filed out behind. Prince Harry, again alone, jumped a car for the airport, trying to get home in time for son Archie's 4th birthday. The 2,000-member congregation poured out behind him, including 14 Australian achievers. Here's Australian nurse Emily Regan, beyond excited.
I didn't think I'd get emotional, but when Sam Kerr came in carrying the flag and stuff, it was actually really an emotional moment. Like, the whole thing's been really overwhelming. It's been great. It's been amazing.
And as the Abbey was cleared, we had a chance to go in, stepping into the aftermath of a moment in history. The throne's empty again for now. The next time Westminster Abbey hosts an occasion like today's, and the next time the King Edward chair is occupied, will of course be the coronation of William. And that next generation is one so many here look forward to. It will be a popularity boost the monarchy desperately needs. But in the meantime, Charles, the caretaker king, could today at least sing along with the fans. Happy and glorious.
And Chris Reason joins me now from Buckingham Palace. Chris, what a 24 hours. What now for the newly crowned king?
Well, Mark, King Charles III faces some Herculean tasks ahead. First and foremost, of course, is making the British monarchy more relevant, especially to younger generations. And we've seen attempts to do that through social media, releasing images like this from Kensington Palace overnight, some intimate moments of the Walesers and their children getting ready in the minutes before the coronation. Charles also focused on stopping the hemorrhaging of nations from the Commonwealth. But perhaps above and beyond all of those, the greater challenge that faces him, Mark, is reuniting that family of his.
Chris Reason at Buckingham Palace, thank you. At times, getting the King and Queen to Westminster Abbey and back was more spectacular than the service itself. 4,000 military personnel marched down the Mall at precisely 108 steps per minute, guiding the royal carriages along the most famous mile-and-a-half in all of Britain.
The glittering splendour of the Gold State coach. A 260-year-old masterpiece befitting a new king and his queen. As their majesties, newly enthroned, began the journey home past the people. Marching alongside service personnel from the realms. In slouch hats, Australians. Bombardier Michael Nona.
Yeah, it was a surreal feeling. Everything was going off, the bells, the crowd. It's pretty exciting at the time.
And Corporal Tegan Ross.
The whole march itself has been an extremely proud moment of mine. It's a privilege to have been selected to march alongside the carriage, and yeah, like I said, I'll cherish it for the rest of my life.
On horseback, Princess Anne. Rarely has she shirked awesome responsibility, charged with protecting her brother, the King. In the Australian state coach, a family of 5, the Walesers, 5-year-old Prince Louis, Louis the poser, Louis the loudmouth. Princesses Catherine and Charlotte, mother and daughter, in Alexander McQueen. Their matching headdresses, a modern twist on a tiara. Charlotte is 8. One day she may watch her father and her brother be crowned too. Along the Mall, the crowd drenched but jubilant. The weather British, brought to life by bands. And the biggest military parade in London in 70 years. They stretched out along the Mall and down Whitehall for 1.5 kilometres before forming up in the Buckingham Palace gardens to offer a royal salute.
3 cheers for His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Queen! Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip!
The first cheer alone just echoed off all the buildings surrounding the palace. It's pretty amazing.
Before Charles led his family to the other side of the palace and the people.
For all the majesty of the service and the grandeur of the procession, this is what the crowds really wanted to see. Charles and his family, and for many, this is what marks the real start of his reign.
A new Carolean era, led by a king, just one of his 2 sons, just one of his 2 brothers, and his sister and their families, the workers. A royal family reshaped, redrawn, with a cheeky young prince who is making a habit out of stealing the show. The grey skies meant the flypast was largely grounded, but nothing would stop the red arrows, bringing red, white and blue to one of Britain's biggest days. He was soon back for more. An encore appearance for a couple once so controversial, now together, wearing crowns.
And Europe Bureau Chief Hugh Whitfield is at Windsor Castle for us now. Hugh, the coronation party isn't over just yet.
Mark, the celebrations are really only just beginning. In the coming hours, members of the royal family are expected to join some of the 4,000 street parties being planned right across the UK. Classic British neighbourhood lunches with plenty of bunting, no doubt, as well. Before the royals reconvene here at Windsor Castle, the King will host a private family supper before they join more than 20,000 members of the public for the coronation concert, headlined by Lionel Richie, Take That, and Katy Perry. And you can watch the whole thing right here on 7. Mark.
Hugh Whitfield at Windsor Castle for us. Thank you. As we've seen, the massive crowd that braved the rain was drenched in the sheer grandeur and history of the day, and it's very fair to say they loved it.
In a modern, multicultural Britain, it's not so much the people who need the king, God save the king, but the king who needs the people.
Oh, really moving, quite emotional. Just the atmosphere has been brilliant.
Absolutely splendid. It's been a wonderful experience.
And on this day, they cared.
Very relieved to be alive to see it.
Hello, it's amazing. I can see everything.
Coming from near.
Where have you come from today?
Sheffield.
Far.
Magnificent. Yeah, we come from Australia, so it was great.
A bucket list dream. Yes.
Really?
To watch the King and Queen leave to go be anointed as King and Queen of England. It was very exciting.
And for a rare few, again.
I was here 70 years ago in exactly the same position.
There are more people here than there were in 1953.
Even by London standards, the weather was grim.
It's been a brilliant atmosphere. It's obviously been a bit soggy and wet and we're a bit cold.
Even if the rain was hail, storm and thunder, I still would have been here.
The tens of thousands with crowns, flags, ponchos and good humour weren't going anywhere. Except towards Buckingham Palace. All eyes on the balcony.
An amazing piece of history. What a wonderful, wonderful tapestry that this nation has running through it.
Earlier, as the processions passed, it was brollies down, phones up. A chapter of history, content in this digital age.
For King Charles III, this is the final part of a long journey that began when he was born, crowned after a 7-decade apprenticeship. This is his moment, but their scenes also designed to live on in the memories of all of those who lined the streets today.
The public's enduring support for the monarchy can't be guaranteed.
Long live our king.
But part of its survival plan is its future.
And long may they live, and it may continue as well.
On a day of irresistible spectacle that the people loved.
Couldn't have gone to a better person.
We've got the royal family in Great Britain. We're not Great Britain.
God save the King.
In London, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
Tonight, the Bathurst MP ousted as Nationals leader in favour of the member for Dubbo. The region shivers through an early wintry blast. And the CWA making a difference for country communities. Good evening and welcome to Win News Central West. I'm Jared Constable. Also tonight, an upgrade on the way for Dubbo Station. Dougal Saunders has been elected the new leader of the New South Wales Nationals after a spill this afternoon. The tables turned on Paul Toole after claims he misled colleagues about his discussions with Ben Franklin regarding the Upper House presidency. Our reporter Mahalia Bowles has the details.
The murmurs of a leadership spill grew louder this morning, with MLC Ben Franklin saying Paul Toole supported his bid to nominate for President of the Upper House, saying it would be good for the Nationals despite Liberal counterparts being unhappy with the move. This revelation triggered angst among the party, with some MPs claiming Paul Toole lied to them about his support of Franklin. Franklin's consideration of the role came under fire last week, as it would give Labor an effective majority in the currently evenly balanced Upper House. Paul Toole has spent the past 18 months as the Nationals leader, but he's faced increasing pressure since the March election. He narrowly defeated Dougal Saunders in a party vote off the back of the election. However, he wasn't so lucky this time around, with Mr Saunders turning the tables. Addressing the media a short time ago, the former Ag Minister said it's been a difficult 24 hours and the party needs to put the last few weeks behind them and move forward. Mahalia Bowles, Win News.
Palliative care services and better education for rural areas are among the top agenda items at the Country Women's Association's annual conference. Hundreds of women descending on Bathurst, giving a voice for country communities.
Country Women's Association delegates and observers serenaded by the Allegri Singers as they helped open the 101st State Conference. 500 delegates gathering over the next 3 days to hotly discuss issues affecting country communities.
To make it mandatory life sentence for people who murder, law enforcement or emergency service or health workers, and to make sure that they've got support to deal with any issues that may come forward.
After the tragic loss of paramedic Stephen Toga last month.
Anyone that goes out to work for us in those positions, they take care of us. We need to be taking care of them.
A continued push for palliative care in every regional hospital so people don't have to travel to access support.
Health issues, doctor crisis, paramedics and having services in the country, and education. They're the things that are high on our priority list.
Making sure young people have quality education in the bush, as well as tackling homelessness and a proposed curfew on cats that are destroying native wildlife. Shana Wan, CEO of Sober in the Country, leading the keynote address.
We need to make sure every single one of our mates in the bush knows it's always okay to say no to a beer.
Raising awareness about alcohol harm, 150% more likely to happen in the bush. With over 8,000 members, CWA women bringing their findings back to the nation's leaders, helping to spur on much-needed change and reform.
It carries a lot of weight.
Mahalia Bowles, Win News.
The Regional Australia Institute is demanding a resolution of the two major shortages smashing the bush, housing and workers. It comes on the eve of Labor's first formal budget in years.
Just 24 hours until Labor's first full budget. The Finance Minister warning Australians not to expect too much.
We're not going to just go around throwing money out the door in an environment like this. Every single decision we take has been mindful of the inflation challenge in the economy.
The Regional Australia Institute laying out its plan for building the bush back up.
The number one is filling those job vacancies. So we've seen those numbers balloon again back up to 93,000. Number two is housing.
Pointing out the bush will have to do the heavy lifting on a planned massive build of renewable energy, but it doesn't have the bodies or skills to do it.
Migration is a critical short-term lever that we need to optimise.
Meanwhile, the opposition is concerned a nearly $15 billion cost of living relief package will drive inflation, which is already at record highs.
The fact is, unless they reduce inflation, well, any cost of living measure, any handout, any increase to welfare will simply be gobbled up. It'll be eroded by high inflation.
Part of the answer to that is the savings that we're announcing in the budget, the fact that we have found $17.8 billion worth of savings.
The Greens want less money for tax cuts and submarines and more for the poor.
The biggest winner from tomorrow's budget will be men. Already very wealthy men.
The budget will be revealed tomorrow night. Andrew Messenger, Win News.
It's growth teams rolling out to 15 primary and high schools statewide, with Wu running workshops for students and teachers.
Eddie Wu is much more than a maths teacher. With over 1.5 million YouTube subscribers, a TEDx talk and numerous published books. But his love for teaching has grown a program aimed at helping schools across his home state.
I lead the Mathematics Growth Team, which is a program that embeds expert teachers into schools so that they remain current in their practice and can support their fellow teachers by delivering professional learning.
Maria is one of 15 expert teachers training at her assigned high school through her own class, as well as supporting teachers in surrounding schools.
Over my teaching career, I have had lots of people say to me that maths was their worst subject at school. So this is a program that's designed to help teachers make maths more engaging.
The program is also hoping to attract more trained math teachers into New South Wales schools with a shortage in the department through school workshops run by Eddie himself.
I visit schools around the state up as far as Lismore and down to Albury because we want to really enthuse students about how powerful mathematics can be and how it enriches their lives, and also show teachers what's possible and give them energy because teaching is a hard gig.
So far, a positive response has emerged from the assigned schools from both students and teachers.
The fact that Eddie's here to help us understand math a little more in depth, it's going to help a lot.
It's really cool to see it in person and see how he works and explains things. Keely Hurry, Win News.
Good evening. The New South Wales Nationals are once again in chaos.
Tonight there is a new leader of the party after another week of bad headlines.
Unable to proceed until after he stared down a team in turmoil.
We got our first party room meeting again this afternoon, and no, I'm certainly walking into that room. If I have to explain what's happened in the past, I'm happy to do that with a party.
The latest rumblings widening the National Party's cracks began after rumours swirled over a plum parliamentary job. Party member Ben Franklin was being primed to take over as the new president of the Legislative Council. Paul Toole slammed the potential move publicly, but behind closed doors, Franklin alleges he thought it was a great idea.
Well, look, they were personal conversations, and I'm certainly not going to air them out in the public.
After being labelled dishonest, it once again opened the doors for Dougal Saunders. Only weeks earlier, he challenged Paul Toole for the leadership, losing by 1 vote. But Paul Toole today dug in, again doubling down on his comments before heading into the party room.
I am disappointed in some of the comments that have been made by Ben Franklin. I mean, they were a private conversation.
The job was raised by the Premier, Chris Minns, to Ben Franklin, who also happens to be the godfather to one of his children.
I was told that there was support for it in the leadership of the party. The issue is obviously a matter for the National Party. I don't think they would regard me as an honest broker when it comes to offering commentary.
By the end of the day, Ben Franklin confirmed he would run for the presidency of the Upper House tomorrow.
They come with a very attractive pay. They come with a lot of advantages in relation to that.
It all comes after the state election where the Nationals lost the seat of Monero, failed to win back the seats of Barwon, Orange and Murray, while also losing Upper House territory.
I'll always put the interest of the New South Wales Nationals Party first.
Ruben Spargo, 7 News.
So the party meeting's been quick and a new leader now installed. Let's go to Dubbo now, where we're joined by Hamish Southwell. And Hamish, it's been a brutally swift spill.
That's right, Nick. Dougal Saunders is the new leader after a quick vote just after 3 p.m. this afternoon. National Party members were texting reporters to let them know Paul Toole had been rolled from the party's top job. Here's what the new leader had to say at a news conference just after 4 p.m.
I'm pleased to announce this afternoon that I have been named as the new leader of the New South Wales Nationals. I'd like to thank the party room for the support. This has been an extremely difficult 24 hours, and I think what I'm looking forward to now is doing the job that we know the New South Wales Nationals are here to do, and that is to represent the regional areas of New South Wales.
The spill could also trigger a revised shadow cabinet change, but we'll have more on the developing story at 6:30. Nick?
OK, Hamish Southwell, thank you. It's now advancing to a point where it could even conduct search and rescue missions during the daytime or at night.
3 times the size of its little brother. This is a drone project on steroids. Built like a Formula One car out of carbon fibre, its lightweight capability is being tested as it looks to transform the unmanned aviation industry.
Suddenly we've got units that are, they can map 1,000 hectares per flight.
Both of these models are long-range drones powered on by hydrogen, which is centred in the body of the aircraft, a first for Australia.
The opportunity with hydrogen was we could double the flight time for weight using hydrogen rather than lipo batteries.
While landholders at Timingli were learning how to control basic drones today, the technology of tomorrow is being led by a regional business who's been working on the project for 8 years.
It's exciting that the Central West really is able to lead industry like drones, which is quite futuristic, yet here we are in the bread and butter of the state.
Although its big brother is still in final stages of development, its smaller model is up and away. Right now, it's entering its final stage of testing and could be sold commercially from July, helping cover the agricultural landscape. It also has the capability to perform search and rescue missions with its storage capacity, another drawcard.
We're also looking at the feasibility of last mile delivery or emergency delivery, such as critical medical goods, that type of product.
The sky is the limit for a technology embracing the future. Hamish Southwell, 7 News.
Snow has fallen across the central west after our region was hit with an icy cold front over the weekend. While temperatures plummeted to below zero, it didn't stop many locals getting out to enjoy the spectacular sight.
The town of Oberon transformed into a winter wonderland.
Nice and cold. It's snowing at the moment. Hey. Looks like New York City at Christmas time.
Streets painted white as a cold snap swept through the region on Sunday. Temperatures in many areas getting as low as -1 degrees, giving residents a beautiful but chilly treat to awake to.
But yeah, it's pretty icy this morning.
It is, yeah. For the last 30 years, we haven't seen much like this.
Conditions so cold that car doors were frozen shut.
I eventually got the doors open with hot water, and then we left it running for about half an hour with the heater on full board.
It wasn't just Oberon that was covered in a blanket of white. Flurries fell between Bathurst and Lithgow. Blaney and Mudgee also getting a dusting.
It is a sense that winter has given us a calling card that it's on its way, and we have seen some very cold air come from a long way south. We did have a cold front move across the whole of southeast Australia.
Freezing temperatures also created some dangerous travel conditions. Access to Mount Canobolas is expected to be closed in the days ahead as Cabonne Council inspects the roads. An icy start to May, but the outlook for winter ahead not certain yet.
The expectation of cooler days during the course of May than what we would expect for the month. But for the whole season of winter, we still need to get a little bit closer to see how that guidance is looking.
Nick Overall, 7 News. Having a yarn about all things mental health.
Hey everybody, welcome back to In My Head. Thank you once again for joining us.
Young volunteers at Headspace Orange want to normalise discussions about our mental well-being, and they're doing it through a new podcast that launches this week.
The most important part is to help someone who might be struggling or who knows someone who might be struggling and go, hey, listen to this. These people are talking about the kinds of stuff that you might be dealing with.
Aged between 16 and 25, they hope their podcast titled In My Head will help to break down stigma. With 6 episodes already produced, the team haven't shied away from diving deep into some big topics.
We've discussed services you can access, mental health in general, LGBT issues, the Indigenous community.
Their guests so far have included sporting professionals, writers, activists and even politicians. Local member for Orange, Phil Donato, dropping by for a chat.
The second people hear mental health, I think anxiety, depression, which, that's all part of it, but mental health is a big umbrella. There's good and bad to it, just like physical health.
Out from this Thursday, the podcast will be available on Spotify and most major podcast platforms. These passionate locals hoping it will give some comfort to those going through tough times.
It's to basically give them the sense that they're not on their own. There's other people out there that have suffered the same things, and there are avenues to go seek help.
Nick Overall, 7 News.
Tonight, with beaches closed, strong winds causing chaos and the temperatures plummeting. In fact, dozens of flights have been cancelled, with wild conditions making landing on all but one runway too dangerous.
As the sun came up, the big surf rolled in. Some brave enough to take the plunge. In the water, it was 20 degrees. Outside, it was barely cracking double digits.
Absolutely freezing.
We're getting into winter, so we're expecting this, but it's a bit shocking all of a sudden.
Overnight temperatures 7 in the city, 6 at Campbelltown, 5 at Holsworthy and below 0 in the mountains.
Which is actually the lowest temperature Sydney has had in the first half of May for 85 years.
Coogee Beach was closed, but that didn't stop surfers or this spectacle. Racing the whitewater, making the most of the monster waves. The big seas smashing into the coast, beaches a whitewash whiteout, sparking erosion fears at Collaroy.
5 to 6 metre swells have been reported along parts of the Illawarra and Metropolitan Coast.
The high winds also causing havoc for travellers. Strong crosswinds forcing the airport to operate on just one runway for much of the morning, leading to the cancellation of more than 40 flights.
Fingers crossed. Just saying on display it's cancelled. So someone's right, someone's wrong.
For those who did take to the sky, it was a white-knuckle ride. West of the mountains, temperatures plummeted even further.
Oh my God, look at the road. It's snow everywhere.
A light dusting on the mountains behind Parliament House in Canberra. In Oberon, residents woke to winter, block after block blanketed in snow. At Thredbo, temperatures reached -4, the mountain marking the turn of the season. Opening weekend still over a month away.
In fact, thousands of it did it in his own backyard with a spectacular concert in the grounds of Windsor Castle.
The concert at the King's Castle.
He himself, of course, is a painter, an artist. The artist formerly known as Prince.
Where Charles can enjoy the party.
Delighted and honoured to be joined by our newly crowned King Charles III.
After a life-changing weekend, Their Majesties and the royal family, along with 20,000 people, celebrated. With the UK's biggest stage. A showcase of modern Britain with a few international guests.
We're looking for our seats, we're in the royal box.
King Charles, he is expecting him.
Kermit found his seat to watch Lionel Richie let the royals relax into the night. Katy Perry dripping in gold. And a reformed Take That. Can you feel it now? Can you feel it? Got everyone on their feet. The sky alive with drones, a 1,000-year-old castle, a canvas, the backdrop to a son's tribute.
As my grandmother said when she was crowned, coronations are a declaration of our hopes for the future. And I know she's up there, fondly keeping an eye on us, and she'll be a very proud mother.
Earlier, families enjoying the warm-up acts on Windsor's Long Walk were in for a big surprise. The Prince and Princess mobbed.
It must be so weird for them always having to go everywhere and everyone's just sticking a camera in your face. Going there must be living in a whole different world.
They didn't mind a drink. Mum Kate offered one little overwhelmed girl a hug. They were a hit.
I'm quite happy because it's not many people actually get to speak to the royals, and it is quite fun.
They are clearly popular, the future king and queen, the future of the monarchy, and that popularity crucial to the future of this institution.
That's in Charles's hands for now.
In my eyes, he's the best king ever there will ever be. So I wish he lived for a long time.
In Windsor, England, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
And clearly, if today was any guide, we could be witnessing the start of a more relaxed royal family. Chris Reason joins me once again from London. Chris, you ran into a couple of princesses this morning.
Daniel, yesterday Buckingham Palace scattered royals across the country to join in on some of those street parties. We saw in Hugh's report the Prince and Princess of Wales. Well, we were in Buckinghamshire when Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie dropped in. There's a lot of talk about the lack of relevance of the monarchy here, but these two were received like royalty rock stars, even happy to offer some rare comments to 7 News. Britain embraced the informal street parties in towns and villages across the country. And this one at Chalfont St Giles had not one special guest, but two, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, offering the powerful combination of royalty, celebrity and selfies. Here, awarding a prize to 9-year-old Mia, who'd spent 4 days making the hat.
It's really quite emotional because my daughter worked so hard on her hat.
Exciting and a bit nerve-wracking, I've got to say.
Back on duty the day after Uncle Charles was crowned king.
How was yesterday, can we ask?
It was a wonderful, wonderful celebration. What a joy.
It was called the Big Lunch. There were over 50,000 held nationwide today. Princess Anne attended one, the Duke of Edinburgh visited another. The lunches have raised millions, connecting communities.
The UK's biggest community celebration. It happens every year since 2009.
They worked the crowd, but the crowd also made them work. It's difficult to believe the royal family is fighting for popularity and relevance when you see scenes like this. The princesses near mobbed today, but they know the monarchy is in a fight for survival and community engagement is critical. And Princess Beatrice told us the reaction was appreciated.
How special is a reception like this today for you?
Oh, it is.
It is, she replied, before aides stepped in. But Beatrice wanted to answer the question.
So special. So special.
It was special, she said. Yesterday, we saw images of streets filled with soldiers. Today, they're heaving with festivity. A clue that support for the royals could be entering a new era too.
We love them. We absolutely love them.
In Buckinghamshire, Chris Reason, 7 News.
tongue and hold my breath. Scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I said quietly, I agree blindly. I guess that I forgot I had a choice. I let you push me past the breaking point. I stood for nothing, so I fell for everything. You helped me down, but I got up. Already brushing off the dust. You hear my voice, you hear that sound. Like I'm gonna shoot you around. You helped me down, but I got up. Get ready, cause I've had enough. I see it all, I see it now. I got the eye of the tiger, dancing through the fire, and you're gonna hear me roar, louder than a lion's. I am the champion, and you're gonna hear me to be here with you people. I love you so much. I'm so happy to celebrate this whole weekend. I got to bring my mom. She is so happy to be here. We get to stay in Windsor Castle. No big deal. And thank you for having
In its 82nd year, the Yeovil show had crowds racing in from all over the region. Whether young,
We're just here to have some fun and go on the rides and check out all the stores and stuff.
or older,
I've been coming to the Yeovil show for as long as I can remember, which is a long time.
there was no shortage of exciting things to discover.
Rides for the kids, lots of market and food stalls. We've got a lawnmower race this afternoon, bringing that back after, I think it's a 7-year hiatus, so that's really exciting.
Organisers and local businesses welcoming the return of crowds after disruptions slowed down the show in recent years. This time round, it was well and truly back into the swing of things.
In the last 2, we've built it back up a lot. It went from 1 ride to 8 rides.
Young thrill seekers certainly giving their tick of approval.
One of the mats made me go all the way to the end of the thing. It's really scary, but it's also very fun. My favourite's the Thunder thing.
Why is that?
Because it goes the fastest.
The day also coinciding with a public holiday in Yeovil, so that the whole family could get amongst the fun.
Can you hear the whistle? Can you see the smoke?
Here we are, took the day off work and just coming down and enjoying the sunshine.
It's great. A lot of people around, getting around, and no, I think it's great.
Everybody just saying hello to each other and just chatting generally, and yeah, it's just good country hospitality.
Nick Overall, 7 News.
The raising of Wyangla Dam's wall is tonight no closer to becoming a reality. It failed to receive a mention in the budget, in action locals say will hurt most in times of flooding and drought.
We talk about resilience and so forth. Well, this is the project we need for the entire valley to do that.
It's one out of many local projects which will not move forward. There was no mention of Dixon's Long Point crossing connecting Orange to Mudgee, nothing on the Great Western Highway upgrade too. 7 News understands it does remain in the budget, but on hold.
It's positive they haven't got rid of the Great Western Highway work yet, but I'm not optimistic.
It will still be subject to an independent review with the government cleaning up what they call an unsustainable infrastructure backlog.
One of the things we desperately need is increases in infrastructure expenditure in order to provide us with the sorts of services that are available to folk living in the cities.
There were some wins. Over $200 million will be spent on improving high-priority flood warning infrastructure in communities building back after being overrun by water.
How could it possibly be that you could have a massive disaster at Kewdale and then it's not until 8 hours later it hits Eugowra, but there's no warning?
But is it enough to keep us moving?
I'm just a bit worried that too much has come from the regions, like from our regional infrastructure programs and our grants programs.
Ruben Spargo, 7 News.
Today, local police officers were recognised for their work protecting the Central West, some putting themselves on the line for more than 45 years.
That's not just for turning up, that's dedication, that's been there day in, day out, attending to the major events.
From Condobolin to Dubbo, Cowra to Lithgow, these officers were recognised with the National Police Service Medal, representing their past and future commitment to give ethical and diligent service.
It is a time of celebration and acknowledgement for us. We often don't stop and pause and reflect on, how hard sometimes the days can be.
A lot of the police have given up holidays, they've given up, birthday parties, anniversaries, all those things they miss on a regular basis. In order to respond to the needs of the community.
The support of family and loved ones well on display.
We wouldn't be able to do our jobs if it wasn't for the strong support of those around us, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that.
The day also recognising civilians who have gone above and beyond to help others in emergencies. The district commander bestowing his certificates of appreciation for their bravery.
One of the greatest parts of being a commander in the Western region is the community and the police working together to achieve what better for the community.
Nick Overall, 7 News.
Around the country and their aircrafts attended the event run by Panorama Airways. Formation flying is a specialised skill that requires high levels of concentration and precision. The clinic catered to a full range of pilots, allowing them to hone their skills. The newer pilots were able to sit in the back seat of the aircrafts.
So that gave them the opportunity to concentrate on what's happening and what their skills need to be without having to worry about flying the aircraft.
Classic warbird aircraft and jets all attracted attention from the ground as they entertained and wowed the crowds.
Go up and really enjoy it.
Steve Turnbull was here 50 years ago for the first race meeting the Blaney Club ever hosted.
I actually drove my second winner here. When I first started off, when I was 16, and the first day I actually ran second on that old horse. So got some good memories here.
Steve's time in Blaney came full circle. The Turnbull trained and driven St Emilion won the $20,000 anniversary cup.
St Emilion forges to the lead halfway down the straight, and the mud-splattered Nathan Turnbull gets the cash.
After 50 years of racing, the Blaney Club boasts plenty of harness racing stalwarts.
The club has only ever had one president in Butch, and to the Kingham boys and the rest of his committee. Look, just a fantastic effort.
The club's secretary has also been involved for all 50 years. John Kingham has seen a lot of change across the last 5 decades at the showground.
Back in the first start, you had standing start races and you had a lot more support. Like when we first built out here, these stables up here was built by voluntary work, and same as the first track. But the improvements over the years and help with everything, it's really made a pleasure.
Racing in 2023 is
and if you were building the same size that we'll build with this under normal construction methods, then you're going to be paying a similar amount, maybe a little bit more under normal construction methods.
In July, an external contractor will begin setting up the printing gantry. Its success will shape the council's trial using the technology to build houses, an idea which was put forward nearly 12 months ago.
Definitely to build something on a smaller scale, test that out and see how that looks, and even to look back then from a pricing perspective and just compare the two different methods.
With the building now knocked down and reduced to a pile of rubble, it may only take a couple of months until the new amenities building is operational.
By the end of August, people will be able to use this amenities block. And again, that's a fairly short time frame to get something built like this compared to a normal construction method.
Hamish Southwell, 7 News.
We'll be able to have a look behind the scenes of our local fire station this Saturday for their annual open day. Between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m, you can meet local firefighters and get hands-on experience with some of their equipment. Community members will also be able to learn more about fire safety.
Sausage sandwiches for all the people. Come on down and we'll have a great day, and we'll liaise with our community on the best way we can keep them safe.
You can check if your local station is participating through the Fire and Rescue New South Wales website.
At the 16th edition of the Bathurst Stampede, 27 teams from right around the state hit the pitch for 2 days of competition.
So this is the very start of the mixed season for Ultimate Frisbee. So most of these teams are either going to go on to play university games soon, or they're going to go on to play at the mixed regionals and nationals.
The Stampede offers players of all abilities a chance to give Ultimate Frisbee a crack.
More social tournament rather than your regional and your national events. So we all just come down here and it's all very well-spirited games, all reffed by the players. There's no one on the field to keep track of us. We have to be responsible for ourselves.
The Bathurst Stampede first began with 6 to 8 teams and was forced to have a year off during COVID. But the tournament is back and it's better than ever.
It's definitely a growing sport, and it's definitely growing in this region as well. It's a non-contact sport, so I think that appeals to a lot of people, but it's definitely been growing over the years.
It's a sport that's very accessible with a welcoming community.
My sister was playing Ultimate Frisbee, and so I was very quick to put my hand up to play on a team, and that was about 4 years ago, and I've been getting better and better ever since. Well, I hope I've been getting better.
Whether you've got a sporting background or not, Ultimate Frisbee is a sport you can learn on the fly.
Good Ultimate Frisbee player has to be fast, very agile, have to make quick decisions. It can be a very intense game at times. A bit of height's always good as well.
Macraith Snare, 7 News.
Orange High School students are still buzzing after experiencing a massive musical highlight. The singers joining a huge choir in support of one of Australia's top talents.
It was an experience as unique as the star performer. 12 Orange High students sharing the Sydney Town Hall stage with Kate Miller-Heidke.
It was amazing. It's an incredible place, and it was just amazing to hear everyone and how all the acoustics go in the town hall.
The young singers were part of a 1,000-strong choir, which joined a live orchestra, all made up of public school students for the New South Wales Department of Education's In Concert.
It was really good to see the whole thing develop from just the choir rehearsal, and then we added on the orchestra rehearsal and then the performance. It was really good to see that development.
The performance is a chance for public school students to challenge themselves while showing off their abilities, especially with the test of learning a variety of styles.
We had a couple of Australian pieces, some Latin, a bit of Mozart was there.
It has been months in the making, with Tuesday night's performance something their music teacher says won't be forgotten anytime soon.
It's just one of those goosebump moments, you know, when you're performing in a choir with hundreds of students, with a huge orchestra. It's something you can't describe.
Well, I want to have a career in the performing arts, so being able to go to In Concert, all those other performing opportunities, I'm able to gain experience and skills in the performing arts.
Michelle Cook, 7 News.
This match will be played in Bathurst. The Western Sydney Wanderers Football Club today announcing they're bringing their talents to Carrington Park.
We see how well, for 10 years with the Penrith Panthers here, how it's grown,
this is exactly what I know will happen more for the Western Sydney Wanderers.
The team has found its new home away from home.
As a professional A-League club where we believe we've got a responsibility to grow the game. Yes, we're based in Western Sydney, but we also believe we've got a responsibility to engage regional communities.
And NBA players, even a fellow Aussie. These kids were put through their paces, starting off with the Talented Athlete program.
It's a holistic program that's aimed at teaching athletes the necessary skills to play at the next level. So we teach them mindfulness, strength and conditioning, anything in the holistic space, as well as some basketball on court.
From passing and dribbling to shooting and defending, the day was about skill acquisition, but there was plenty of time for a bit of fun.
Not only is it a great opportunity to work on their basketball, but they meet lifelong friends. We're now seeing generational basketball players who have come through this program themselves, and then now they're bringing their kids to come and watch, so it's really cool to develop those lifelong relationships.
The kids were taking it all in, doing their best to mirror the ballers they see on the TV.
It's pretty good. Not many opportunities like this.
It's a great opportunity to come and improve their skills so they can make state teams and stuff later on.
Players from all over Western New South Wales laced up their shoes for the Skills Day. As the kids aspire to one day play professionally, there's some pretty good evidence to say the program works.
Some pretty big names have come through the Talented Athlete program, so you'd probably recognise Lauren Jackson, Xavier Cooks, who's playing in the NBA. There's a whole bunch of players who have come through this program, and it really sets them up for future basketball success.
Macraith Snare, 7 News.
A young mechanic in Bathurst is preparing for a life-changing opportunity. In a dream come true, Year 12 student Sally Webster is set to join the garage of a professional motor racing team.
Tinkering with an engine in her workshop at Bathurst TAFE, where she spends a lot of her time. Sally Webster will be swapping this engine out for that of a performance car this weekend. The teenager is set to join the team of Maisie Place at the RX8 Cup at the Sydney Motorsport Park.
We met at the 6 Hour and she's this really amazing woman that does rotor engines and races RX8s and does all sorts of racing. That's when I really started to get into motorsport and see how amazing it is.
Sally's relationship with Maisie Place has given her an inside track to the industry she hopes to one day work in.
I started in Year 11 for this course and it just really sparked something in me. It was really, really interesting.
This weekend's experience at the Motorsport Park will go a long way to achieving that.
We've had great success with students in the past who are now working for some of the race teams, and they're going around Australia and living the dream there. So it's a perfect avenue into something like that.
Sally's been in the automotive program for 18 months now. It's great to see how quickly things can change. She's going from working on an engine here at Bathurst TAFE to supporting a motor racing team at Sydney Motorsport Park. Sally can't wait to get into the garage with the team as she gets her first taste of working in motorsport.
I definitely want to get on a team, hopefully. I'm not sure. I'm trying to make as many connections as I can so far. See if anyone will take me on.
Macraith Snare, 7 News.
Bathurst Harness Racing Club hit the track last night with many races coming right down to the wire. The closest was race number 7, the Burke's horse Ruggs Pace. As they turned into the straight, the pack was pretty tight, but 4 horses pulled away and that made for a nail-biting finish.
Going along the inside, Karen Ann Shannon, and then came Always Be Ronnie, and down the extreme outside, here comes Fake Mint with a big run. In front, Altruistic Fran, Vamos, Fake Mint, they go to the line close.
It was Fake Mint that came away with the win, taking home a prize worth just over $5,000.
Developing story from central Sydney. An inferno has engulfed a multi-storey building near the central train station, gutting the property and causing walls to collapse on the streets. Flames have then spread to neighbouring buildings and cars below, with hundreds forced to evacuate. As we go to air, though, the danger far from over.
An intense wall of flames erupting from central Sydney. A 6-storey heritage building pitched as a bright and sunny workplace, now collapsing in on itself. First one wall, then minutes later, another comes crashing down into the street.
I saw all this really intense black smoke hurtling towards the sky, and it really stank. It smelt like poison.
The bright orange blaze lighting up Surrey Hills as black smoke darkened the skies above. People pouring into the streets, the light rail shut down and nearby homes and businesses evacuated.
Wolf, panicking, so scared, we didn't know what was really happening.
A small veranda, collateral damage, that was quickly extinguished. This ute parked on the street, no chance. Within an hour, a building that stood tall for decades reduced to a shell.
I'm pleased to report that there's been no indications of any injuries to any of the members of the public.
In the air and on the ground, more than 100 firefighters are working right now to contain this blaze. The building has collapsed and the concern is the fire spreading to the residential building next door.
The flames are now licking my apartment building, so it's a bit of a concern.
Smoke billowing as the sun sets and lights switch on. Our city skyline looking very different tonight.
Quite amazing. The best. Well, tonight, millions of fans are mourning the death of iconic singer Tina Turner, who passed away in her Switzerland home at the age of 83. She leaves behind an incredible legacy, her glittering career built on the back of a personal life filled with sadness and violence.
A global superstar, the queen of rock and roll. And one of the greatest entertainers of all time. Tina Turner sold more than 200 million records, won countless awards, an actress, movie star. And had a connection with Australia like few other international acts. The Nutbush Dance. This one set a world record. It is a uniquely Australian phenomenon. And no one knows how it started. But Turner will be remembered as much for her music as she was a figure of pure inspiration. Born 1939, Nutbush, Tennessee, Anna Mae Bullock. At 11, her mother left. At 17, Ike Turner arrived. He renamed her, married her, abused her.
I had an abusive life. There's no other way to tell the story. It's a reality, it's a truth.
But their success grew. A breakthrough single with Proud Mary.
Proud Mary, keep on burning.
She finally left him 1976, walked away with nothing but her name. Enter an Australian, Roger Davies, Olivia Newton-John's manager.
You know when you meet an artist if they have that charisma, and she was also incredibly determined.
He'd worked with her for the next 3 decades, but it all took off in 1984. The album would be her biggest. It marked one of the greatest comebacks in music history. She had mullet wild hair, a voice of sugar-coated gravel and boundless on-stage energy.
And the most incredible year for you?
Most incredible.
Her career was peaking just as she turned 50. An unforgettable year for Australia too. She agreed to front the NRL's spectacular new ad campaign. Australia became almost a second home, but her first home was Europe, where she'd met and married music executive Erwin Bach, 16 years her junior, but the love of her life. Retirement came in 2008, but her story endured through TV and movies. The rock star and rock for so many women worldwide.
It's so painful. It's really sad.
This is Sri Buddhayasari, the Tina superfan we met on Australia's Got Talent. She's distraught.
I didn't even realise how much she impacted me so much.
The death coming just days after the opening of Tina the Musical in Sydney. In a statement today, words can't express our feelings, adding her legacy lives on, and so will the show.
And she loves Australia and her support for us runs deep, so this one is for her.
Tina died peacefully at her Swiss home after a long battle with intestinal cancer.
How do you bow out slowly? Just go away.
She was 83. Chris Reason, 7 News.
And as we touched on there, for her fans, Tina Turner will forever be the voice of rugby league. Those uplifting campaigns survive in so many memories, even today, especially for some of the game's greats who help bring them to life.
It is League's simply iconic anthem, but the game's Tina turnaround started with a different tune. In 1989, showing off more than the players playing, partly to get more women watching.
We only had one day to film in London. We took footballs and jumpers to Tina, told her all about the game. And
then Turner's Australian manager had a suggestion.
On Tina's new album, we have a song that's written for sport.
The star filming with the players for the $2 million campaign.
Touching you on the shoulder and looking around and, oh my God, it's Tina Turner. It was that wow factor.
She put everyone at ease, and we're really fortunate to do a lot of filming in around the locker room.
We've only spoke to her for 5 minutes, but you felt you knew her for a lifetime.
Visually, all of them are pretty good.
Seen then as a brave move that turned out not just better, but...
He became like a rock star. Everyone says, oh, I saw you on the commercial, the Tina Turner commercial.
Refreshed through the 1990s, including a duet with Barnsey.
And that theme increased the coverage from women by about 60%.
By the time she sang it live at the 93 grand final, crowds had doubled. And it was their song too.
She revolutionised rugby league in a big way.
Songs pop on, you just go, oh, there you go, and it takes you back to the slow motion and running days.
At this weekend's matches, those ads will be played again in tribute to the artist forever linked to the game. Paul Carrack, 7 News.